All right, so I'm gonna try to take this chestnut oak down. Mind you, I've got an asphalt driveway here and this apron there and my busted attachment sitting here and the pad that I've done right there. So I can fix the pad. If it lands in the pad, it's no problem. I certainly don't want a limb to punch through the asphalt. I don't think it will, but you never know. The tree's got a lean coming straight at us right now. So it's got a lot of crook in multi-dimensions. It's got a pretty broad top, so it's kind of hard to pick out. There's no real dominant force with this tree wanting to go. It's one of those ones that you could probably make it go a lot of different ways. What I'm going to try to do is swing it up at that big white oak. Unfortunately, the chestnut's really curvy and it's really only got maybe 2 logs in it, and they're not going to be very clear. But what are you going to do? Hopefully from here you can see this tree's got quite a bit of sweep, and then it sweeps back the other way, and by the time you get straight wood, it's got a cat face, and then it's got a bunch of limbs. So unfortunate. It's a nice tree. I'm sure it fed a lot of wildlife, make a lot of firewood, but not going to make a lot of straight lumber. So this is the side, the front side, the toe, if you will. It's leaning towards the road, which is directly behind me. I'm going to be trying to sight it in to go right between these 2 little dirt clefts. I want it to land right straight in there, just to the left of that tall white oak. So I'm going to be doing a swing Dutchman with a Sizwheel. Now, most people don't cut the front side, the toe side, first on a Dutchman. I do because I tend to get my bar tip pinched in there all the time. If I put in my notch and gun it in first and then start coming around, the tree won't want to go because I'll have hinge all the way to the toe and I'll have to go in and sever it. When I do, the tree will set down on my bar. Or I'll be plunged in too deep, whittling away, and it'll set down on the tip. I won't be paying enough attention, won't yank it out fast enough. So what I basically learned to do was just start the tree perpendicular, start your cut perpendicular to where you're gonna sight it into. That way you don't have to go back and work that spot later. Any setting down it's gonna do has already been done. You've seen me stick that wedge in there loosely. The idea was as an indicator wedge. If that wedge started to drop, that would mean my kerf was opening because I was losing the tree backwards, which I don't expect, but it can always happen, especially when you got a squiggly tree and you don't really know where the weight bias is. It's easy to judge wrong. We're only human. I make mistakes all the time. In fact, let me point one out to you. I intended to mismatch my cuts right here so that I would have a bigger pad. I wanted this to come back and have like a crooked smile, so that I would have a pad right here, so that as the tree starts to go over, you know, this is going to close. But what I want is when the tree starts to lay down, at the toe side, it lays on a pad of wood. And there's going to be like a tension cord called the tab. People generally call it the tab. Is going to be on the other side, holding the tree from going over. So on this side, it's like you've got a jack stand. This wood is in compression. And on this side, you've got a chain. So what we're trying to do is build a chain that stays anchored to the ground through this main side root, but it allows flexibility. You know, if you put a dog on if you anchor one of those posts in the ground and put a chain to it and you put a dog on it, the dog can run all over, but it can't get away from the location. Now the Sizwheel is this angled cut right here, and the real purpose for it, it could be a block face. A block face would do the same thing. If I cut a square block out of this tree, it lengthens this fiber. But we didn't cut out a block, we cut this funny point, right? This little arrow spear, multi-dimensional taper. Why? To leave a pad of wood up here. And like I said, it would have been better to have it flat. That's where I wanted to have my curve come up in here, but I missed it. because, hey, I suck. Let's face it. And speaking of face, if we get on Facebook, I'll find 10 million people that'll tell me how much I suck, even though they've never cut a tree in their life. So let's get going, see if I can prevent this from being a forensic safety video. Let me put you back on the stand there and cross your fingers. Oh, I'm good.
Yeah, you got it figured out. That way.
I feel bad that I ran that guy off. I'm like sitting there thinking, am I going to lose it straight forward? And I look up and there's a guy standing there. And I guess you probably seen me saying, go, 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 and he didn't go. I appreciate him wanting to help. I really do. It's kind of him to want to help. And he probably thinking, what a butthole. But man, I'm telling him move. And I guess I didn't come up with the words like, I might lose this tree, run. That's probably what I should have said. And I'm just glad nothing went wrong. So this kind of shows you the level of incredible tension. You take a pretty big excavator to rip that chunk of root straight up like that. There's a humongous amount of tension on that side. Now that's a pretty fat tab, and I was worried about cutting any more and losing it. What let it go was when I whittled that last bit. I didn't hit it out here because this wood matters. Extremely, extremely important. This outer gradient of wood. Now it is unfortunate that it split the tree, but it doesn't matter because look how much crook is in it. There was no saw log there. It's 4 feet to a huge noodle. So this was destined for firewood anyway. I was actually going to cut it up higher, but I figured I'd look like a jerk. And people love to criticize high stumps. Unless they're on springboards 27 feet in the air, then well, everybody else's stumps are too high, but theirs are the good old days. Anyway, you can see that this wood did not tear. It did not tear. This wood tore. This wood did not tear. Maybe it's got something to do with the flexibility. See, because the Sizwheel lengthens the fiber right here, hopefully you can see my hand. I can't see it on the screen, but that fiber was like this long here and only about an inch long up here. So this fiber could not flex, and it broke. It ripped, it severed, all that stuff. But this did not break. It took the whole main root right up with it, and that root is kind of why I picked that spot to put the tab, knowing it would be a powerful root. So this fiber staying intact shows us what a Sizwheel does. See, if my face cut was intentionally unmatched, we would have had a pad of wood right here on this toe, which would have helped it stay on longer. When that tree crossed over to this point, that puts more strain on the anchor chain, on the hold tab. So if we can have it lean forward, in the toe direction less by having a tall pad of wood right here, that gives this thing even more ability to hang on. So this is a pretty good moment to talk about barber chair. It's kind of an anatomy of a barber chair. except this doesn't go all the way across. Well, why not? Because the holdwood was only halfway across the stump, because the tree was leaning onto this side in compression, and this side wanted to pull out of the ground in tension. But I threw it over sideways. Now, the ground was moving under my feet. And I'm going to have to remember this in the future, that means cut a little more, because that tab was way too much tab. That's suitable for tree service work, you know, where you get paid to take the tree down without crushing anything, and who cares what happens to the log, no matter how nice the log is. But for a logger, you don't get paid unless you salvage the wood, and this is destruction. It doesn't matter in this case, because this was getting butted off anyway, because this tree is a dang noodle. So no hard feelings about any of that. But the mechanics of a barber chair is when there's too much attachment to the stump, when the top has already made a commitment to going over. The top has enough weight, and so the bigger the top, the more influence it has. When it starts to go, it's not going to stop. The stump is going to say, no, my job is to keep you upright, stay still. And that fiber, when we start severing, what's remaining? What is remaining is our hinge. The barber chair occurs when the top's gravity, the mass of the top, has moved so far off center that it is committed to hitting the ground. But the trunk still has enough influence over the tree through the hinge wood to allow the thing to do basically two actions: to fall over and stay at the same time. A portion of it falls over, a portion of it stays. It delaminates, okay, right at that transition zone between compression wood and tension wood. It will delaminate. And some wood's better than others. You're not going to barber chair a black gum because they're all spirally. But something like white oak, hickory, these woods that splinter and peel real nicely. This is a chestnut, and I've not cut much chestnut in my life, but it popped right open. And it was just from this tab's about 1/3, but it's too fat. Now, I felt the ground moving under my feet, and I thought that limb could spring up and smash me any second. So I didn't want to come back in and cut more. My brain was saying, cut some more. She's ready to go, cut some more. But we just had some guy come walking up out of the blue right there in the if it goes wrong zone. And then I've got this asphalt apron that I didn't want to puncture. So I don't care about this tree. I care about that asphalt. I don't want a person, a vehicle, a structure. I don't want any of that to get damaged. So let the tree bust. That was this moment right here. Why I left that tab so fat. Let it rip the stump apart. Who cares? In a logging situation, when you're, 6 miles into the bush, everything is about salvaging the butt log. So you stand there and chase that sucker. If you're going to lose the tree, it's best if it be severed. Because if it's completely free of the stump, it can pirouette and twirl. A monster tree with a huge crown can twirl down, slide down through a tangle of other trees with much less injury to the remaining stand.